It is now 3 o'clock, and I'd like to call this meeting, this October 15th meeting of the Rockingham County Board of Elections to order. And welcome everyone here, including Roy Sawyer with Rockingham Update, and our meetings will be live streamed. And you can get them on various county websites also later on. So I'd like to welcome him here. I'd like to remind everybody, if you have a cell phone, please turn it off or cut the airplane mode on so we won't be interrupted. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Motion, second.
I second.
That the agenda be approved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The agenda is approved. And now you had the minutes sent to you last week from our September meeting. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 17th, 2019.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make one correction on the minutes. Please,
Okay.
under item number 6, my name is spelled P-U-R-G-A-S-O-N.
Spell it again, please.
P-U-R-G-A-S-O-N.
P-U-R-G-A-S-O-N.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. With that correction being made, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the September meeting?
I make the motion to approve the minutes of September 17th, correcting the spelling of Bonnie's name.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second to approve the minutes with the correction of spelling of Bonnie's name. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. At this time, we will have our public comment period, and I'll ask the director to read the rules that govern our public comment periods.
The public comment period shall be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present any matter pertaining to County Board of Elections business or items on the agenda. This period shall not serve as a forum for debate with the Elections Board. Remarks shall be addressed directly to the Board of Elections, not staff, audience, or media. The chairperson shall open the public comment period. Any speaker who wishes to speak shall rise and speak from the podium. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and physical address. Any citizen desiring to speak before the board shall be allotted 3 minutes. Citizens will be allowed to yield their time so that speakers may utilize one more attendee's time. This would allow no more than 6 minutes per speaker. If you are here to yield time or time is yielded to you, then please let the chairman know in advance. Time will be kept by a time clock. Speakers appearing before the Board of Elections will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private ventures, use language of a personal nature which insults or demeans any person, or which, when directed at a public official, is not related to his or her official duties.
Thank you, Madam Director. The first person to sign up to speak is Wally White.
Hello, Wally White, 314 Von Ruck Road in Eden. When I left your May meeting, I left unhappy, and unhappy because my name had been used by Ms. Pergerson as a way to make a complaint against Royce Richardson, saying that at the April meeting, he had told me that as a member of the board of the Democrats, that this board needed election officials. She said that in an email exchange, Royce had said that he believed he had said that was needed to go out to all parties. And she said that she had gone and listened to the April recording. And then she read this quote. I've listened to the recording of both meetings now. She read a quoting to Royce Richardson saying, "Since you are on the board for the party, we need election officials. But I listened to the recordings this week, and she misquoted you. She left 6 words out. What you said, and this is in the April recording at 26 minutes and 46 seconds into the recording, I know you were on the board for the party. We need to get out to both parties. We need election officials. By removing those 6 words, she took a nonpartisan statement and made it a partisan one and used my name to do it. Now, it was a complaint that was a local complaint that has now gone on to being a complaint to the state board. It's a complaint to the state board using facts that are untrue. If we are all going to work together, we have got to do so civilly, and we've got to do so by starting using the truth. What the state complaint says from the chair of the Republican Party, it says Mr. Richardson has been anything but unbiased. At the Board of Elections monthly meetings, he has openly encouraged the Democrats attending the meeting to present him with Democrats willing to work the precincts. The same encouragement was not made to me or anyone from our party attending. It was not plural, it was one meeting. It was not plural, it was one Democrat, me. It was not ignoring anyone else there because I was the only observer present at the April meeting. So this statement in the state board, which is based on an untrue statement made at the local board, takes us further and further away from the truth and makes it harder and harder for us to work together. We all have different opinions on political stuff. And I see the clock is not working. I've been waiting for it to go. We all have to work together. I will go sit down, but we all have to work together, and we really should start by using the truth to do so. I beg you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Next speaker is Roxanne Griffin.
Roxanne Griffin, 108 South Wilson Street, Madison. I am the chair of the Democratic Party in Rockingham County. For as long as I've been associated with the Democratic Party in this county, it has been my observation that the operation of this department has been exemplary in its delivery of service to the citizens of this county. While there have been partisan disagreements as to the extent of early voting opportunities offered voters, I was always left with the impression that this board has been in compliance with the statutes governing its operation, and have no quarrel with the manner in which decisions have been made, though I may have disagreed with the decisions themselves. But as I have observed the interactions of this board and the county commissioners over the past year, I can only shake my head at the degree of partisanship now being exhibited with regard to this office. Not being one to sit by in dismay over behaviors I believe are detrimental to the public, I have taken the time to research a considerable number of allegations which threaten to undermine the efficiency of and confidence in this board, and by extension, the department it governs. What I have found are numerous assumptions being made, and we all know what assume spells. I therefore encourage the members of this board, my Republican counterparts, and the county commissioners to step back from the partisan abyss and take a look through the lens of neutrality to determine the difference between facts and rumors, misstatements and half-truths, ulterior motives and misunderstandings. To do otherwise is a disservice to the citizens and voters of this county. We have a snowball, and it's going downhill rapidly, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I charge all of you as members of the boards of election to research and get to the bottom of the problems before they turn into a monumental mess. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. As you know, we don't make any comments to or about the public comment period. So with that, we will move on to item number 5, the 2019 municipal elections, which is coming up fast. And I'll ask the director to address these 5 items under the municipal elections preparation.
Yes, I just wanted to give you a quick update. At the last board meeting, we were getting ready to have our training, and I told you when we got the manuals from the printer, you would have your copies that we give you. You should have a copy of each one of the trainings in your packet. The mock election was held. IT was there with us. We had no trouble with the mock election. All machines tested properly. All of the cards read well, and the reporting on the State Board site went well. So the mock election was successful. One-stop early voting. You should have next in your packet a copy of the officials that are scheduled to work. The Chief Judge, Luann Jessup, as always, is working on and has scheduled. She'll be getting with us. You'll see 12 names listed as always. Keep in mind, all 12 of these people are not working every day, and they're not all working at the same time. And that's because we don't need 12 people the whole time, but not everybody can work every day. And as always, we'll send people home early as necessary. Some of them are going to share shifts on certain days due to doctor's appointments or just not being able to work or whatnot. But that is the list at different times at who will be in and out during the one-stop voting period, which is at our office. Election day, you have a list of who is scheduled to work for the municipal election this year for our 9 precincts that will be open. We do have executive session coming up where you all will need to discuss. We have a few vacancies that you all will need to appoint for judge positions. We also have one that it's not going to be a vacancy, but that particular judge cannot work this election. And we just found out about that one. So you will discuss that in your executive session, and then when you come back out, we'll make those appointments for those vacancies. And you can see those vacancies in that list. If you'll just look, for example, on Draper, you'll see for the Democratic judge it's blank. And that's because that's a vacancy that you all will need to fill. And that is all I have, unless you have any questions.
What about canvas?
Oh, Canvas. The only thing that's changed right now other than Canvas, it's still the same 10-day period. We'll still go through all of our checks and balances like we always do. The State Board has informed us they're making some minor adjustments to your forms that you all will be looking at and signing when you do certify the results at your Canvas meeting. Actually, the major change, if not the only change, on the ones that we can look at so far are, if you recall the last time, since we had the new 5-member board, there weren't enough spaces for everyone to sign, and they have corrected that. At this point, that's the only change that we're aware of for anything that would affect Canvas.
Is there any questions or comments about the 2019 municipal elections preparation?
Actually, I do have a question about the election day. When this board normally distributes the early voting list to the precincts,
Yes.
can that be done since we're not allowed to go to the precincts? Can that be sent with their information that they are already prepared to take?
With the chief judges?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And I do think that's what we had talked about before, was really the only way we could do it would be with the chief judges when they pick up and they get their chief judge notebooks and any last-minute information. It was that list along with the ADA checklist to complete and the precinct supply checklist to complete as well. So if there are no objections, that's what we'll still plan on doing, is giving those to the chief judges and have those available on election day. I have told the chief judges that as far as the 2 checklists, which are not statutorily required for every election, but we require them, if they wanted to do those at not training, but setup on Monday, where they had a little bit more time, that would be fine.
So one-stop voting will be over on Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
First.
The 1st of November.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll have time to get everything together by Monday. Okay, any other comments or questions regarding the municipal election preparation? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item number 6, the 2020 primary election precinct staff requested budget. Tina, you want to go into that?
Yes, as you're aware, we're providing the information to the commissioners that they have asked for. I have since sent, since the last commissioners meeting, additional information. I think they have everything, as far as I know, that they wanted. One of the questions that came up at the last commissioners meeting was, why can't you all go ahead and set a one-stop plan? Because it's very difficult. We've never had to do that before now that we're in this new process, as far as letting them know how much money we think we're going to need ahead of time. Well, you all, I guess at this point, really the best thing, or what you would need to do, or at least have discussion on it, would be to go ahead and look at setting a one-stop plan, even though we're not at that point we normally would be with direction from the state. The law, you know, is set out what it is now. If it changes, it would really be like any law change that ever occurs. If it happens, you know, prior to the election, then you all would have to adjust or make whatever decisions you would need to make. But as far as, you have a copy next in your packet, which you've already had and seen, the letter that went to the county manager from Royce with the figures, which were the new figures for that, for the primary election, with the new totals. In the letter, just as a reminder, we did discuss this with the commissioners as well at their meeting, that is what's statutorily required as of right now. Weekdays from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., beginning on the 16th and ending on the 1st. As it states in the letter, depending on what you all choose, if you do pass a plan unanimously, that number can change. Of course, it will change depending on who we can send home early, if someone calls in sick, share shifts, anything that we can do, you know, to cut down on those costs. That figure is not set in stone and never will be. But if you all were to add a Saturday to that schedule, or a Sunday, obviously, you know, that will also affect the figure. Just keep in mind, with a schedule, it has to be unanimous, of course, and then if it is not, it would go to the state board. So I guess I would just need direction from you all on how to proceed with trying to get on which agenda or the next agenda to take figures back to the commissioners to request. As it was brought up, you all did not vote again on this number. And I don't know, you know, how to come up with an exact number of what you all could vote on, other than you all going ahead and considering discussing to set a one-stop plan for the 2020 primary election.
Normally, I thought the state told us when to come up with a one-stop plan.
They do. They give us a time frame, and they'll go ahead and let us know to that we need to be looking at it. We need to go ahead and start looking, and we, meaning the board, making their decisions, and then they give us a deadline. You know, that you all have a deadline. It has to be passed by that time, and they always set it a bit back in case it is not unanimous, the decision on a one-stop plan. Then it would go to the state board for them to make a decision.
Tina, I have one question, because I attended the county commissioners meeting, and I know that to me, the big issue for them was that our budget had been increased by almost $8,500.
Yes.
On there.
And that was the email that I sent them after the fact. that you all should have gotten as well.
Can you explain
Say
that? Explain that, Tina.
The increase was because the law is different. When we first began looking at the law, and then I've had some questions since then from a commissioner as well, why was it different in 18? Why was it different in 16? Because it depends on, number one, what the law is. In 16, we weren't required to vote 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The law was different, and the law has gone back and forth several times since then. That's out of your hands, you know, as far as those hours. Now, as far as how many sites you want to open, or again, that letter states that as well, depending on if you want to open the 4 sites, which has typically been done in the past, or if you choose to open fewer sites or whatever it is you all choose to do, that will change that number. But we were not having to vote the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. except for in the general election in 2018, which at the time we thought was only going to be for that election. Then there was a question if it was going to be for the municipal, which was clarified that no, you all did not have to do 7 to 7 for that municipal election.
Well, in the 2016 primary, we voted 14 days from 8 to 7, which is 11 hours. So, and then we voted one more day than what we did in the 2018 primary. So why the big $8,500? I mean, where does the $8,500 increase come from?
Well, it came from 12 hours every day for the, 13-day period for the number of officials scheduled to work, because as I was unable to tell them at the meeting on Monday night, that Monday night, I don't know how many people can be sent home early. I don't know how early we can send people home. I don't know how many shifts can be shared. I don't know how many days people might call in sick or, you know, whatnot. So it's always a rough guesstimate at best, even when you all set a plan.
Yeah, and I understand
it's a
that.
rough guesstimate.
Yeah, I understand that. But it seems to me, in our discussions, and I don't have exact dates or anything like that, that, you know, we knew we had voted 12 hours in the last early voting. Why wouldn't we incorporate that into this budget? Did you foresee that changing back to something, or did you get direction that it was changing back to something?
Well, that was part of the discussions with the state board and what we were looking at. There were several different session laws that take place and that took place. Again, it was initially thought that the law was only going to be for the 2018 general election. And then there became the question, due to a different session law, of where we're going to have to follow that for the municipal elections, which nobody wanted to do, you know, because sadly we vote very small numbers, and that would be a whole lot of hours to not vote a lot of people. But the state board did clarify with us back months and months ago that the municipal election did not, and what we budgeted for, again, an estimate, was what you all, or whichever board was in place, has typically done for municipal elections. And the same thing was done for the primary, thinking that we would not have to do the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Currently, the law states that yes, you would have to. And if you opened any remote site, it has to be open the same hours. And if you choose to open on a Saturday or a Sunday, any site that you open has to be open on the same schedule.
I think Bonnie's
So
question,
those are the differences.
I think Bonnie's question, and she indicated that in 2016 we voted 11 hours a day. Is that right? I thought we voted 8 hours a day until
No,
8 to
it's fine.
7. 8 to 7.
8 to 7.
that was in 16.
In 16, in early voting, yes.
Well, how many days?
In 16, it was 14 days, 8 to 7, one day 8 to 1, and then remote sites was 5 days, 8 to 7.
Yeah, because
That
that last day was only 4 hours at 4 sites
yeah.
for all officials. And the last day now is all officials from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah, that's the difference in law. If we open a remote site, it has to be open the same hours a day. See, in 16, we voted 5 days in the remote sites instead of 13.
Right, right. Only the Wentworth site in 16 was open the entire time. The remote sites were opened on a reduced schedule, which is normal. That's typically what the boards will pass. They won't open the remote sites for the whole entire time.
So that's the difference in the money.
But the law now is requiring that the sites, if you open any site, they have to be on the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. weekdays at a minimum. You all do have the option to add a Saturday or Sunday, but any hours that those are open would have to be the same at any site that you do open. I did budget for what I had brought to you for approval before we sent it to the commissioners for the other three, for the 3 remote sites to be open, simply because in the past, for primary elections, that's what's been done.
So, does the state tell us when early voting starts?
It's statutory. So for right now,
I believe it's February the 12th
12th to the 28th, I
to
think.
the 28th.
You all should have your new 2020 calendars at the bottom of your packets if you want to look there. Under current law, if nothing changes and if the primary election date doesn't change, yes, it'd be the 12th, February 12th through February 28th, 7 to 7 weekdays, unless you add a weekend day.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Tina, was it a possibility to you that you were going to have to need more money when you prepared the budget for this fiscal year?
No, not when I was preparing it and trying to put everything together for you and looking back and forth at the different laws. No, I would have asked for more had I thought we were going to need more, or if I knew for sure.
Because my concern is the commissioners have been gracious enough to approve our budget, and then we come back and ask for approximately $8,500 more dollars. So I would like to know, is there a possibility to cut back on some of these other items to make up for the extra money that we are now requesting?
But please do keep in mind we're requesting it because that's what current law says.
I
If you
understand
open
that.
remote sites, you can't do what you did in 16. You can't open them for 5 days. You have to open them the whole time.
I understand that, but is it a possibility to reduce some of these other line items by that amount of money?
We'd have to look and see. You know, we've had a lot of cuts as it is. Certainly, we could go through and look and see where we could potentially cut more money.
That would be my opinion, but certainly it's up to the board.
Well, this budget that she's presented to the county commissioners was approved by this board in what, March or April, whatever, approved by us. So I guess it was based on what she presented, but anyway, we approved it.
But we
that-
didn't approve
yeah.
adding $8,500.
But we don't have the option to approve what statute says we have to do either. So if it has to be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and any site that's open has to be those same days, not on a reduced schedule as in the past. If you open remote sites, that's the schedule they'll have to run on, and that's what current law says, and it could change. It certainly could change, and as we always do, we're hoping that this is going to be a high number, that we're going to share shifts. We're going to send people home early whenever we can, as long as they have enough staff, as long as they're not understaffed, and as long as they're not busy. I can't tell you how many, what fewer people they can use on any given day. I don't know how busy they'll be.
Since we're talking about the budget and the precinct officials that we use, what kind of, how do they check in time-wise? Because I did ask for a report from the budget director about a breakdown for the precinct workers and how many hours they work per day. And I was going to compare it to the people that early voted in the 2016 election. And he told me he was unable to give me that information. So my question to you is, how do you calculate their time when you submit their payroll?
For One Stop,
Yes,
they're paid hourly, $9 an hour.
I know that. But who turns in the number of hours they work a day? And
Do
who
they have
keeps,
like
and
a
who
sign-in?
keeps up with
Yeah,
it?
do they have like a sign-in
They
sheet or
have
something?
they have pay sheets. They have to fill out a payroll sheet, just like full-time staff.
But that's something that we never see, and you don't see a report with that information. Is that correct?
Not a specific report, but I mean, we can get that for you. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about with that request you made about wanting things broken down
Okay.
for exact costs. However, exact costs won't fit into that formula in that same, as you asked for it.
Right.
Because everyone works a different schedule. So we can't say 14 officials, like we do in the estimate, or 12 officials or whatever, worked this many hours for this many days.
But certainly you have a sign-in sheet that tells you.
Absolutely we do, and that's
how
one
many-
of the things that I said
Okay, well,
in
we'll
your
talk
email.
about that
Yes,
because I
ma'am.
am going to bring it up later in the
Yes,
agenda.
ma'am. Yeah, we can provide all of those pay sheets to you, every one of them. I just can't give it to you in the manner that you asked for.
Okay.
So that payroll sheet's turned in to you, and you just turned in finance, is that right?
What has to be keyed in?
Keyed in.
And who keys that in?
Currently, Amy, I have to approve them. I have to sign off on them, and I have to approve them. And if there are any questions, I check with the chief judge. If something's not jiving, or maybe the addition isn't adding up, or whatever the case may be. On occasion, someone might have put down not to have a lunch. And we tell them, they've got to take their lunch. But sometimes, especially in a presidential, like November, there have been times that chief judges, some of our, longtime chief judges have said they honestly didn't have a chance, but except for 10 minutes to go wolf something down. And many of you, if you've been at any of our one-stop sites, have seen that happen on occasion.
So you're
But-
saying the chief judges actually keep a time sheet or a list of
The chief
how
judges
many
are in
hours?
charge of their schedules and their time and making sure everyone's taking their lunch and
And do
whatnot.
they turn that into you?
The officials themselves sign their own timesheets, fill them out, the chief judges look at them, review them, or I will ask the chief judges if we have any questions.
Okay. Well,
Is that turned in every day? Do they?
No,
account
it's
for
turned
that?
in per pay period, and we give them, you'll see in your pre-election training manuals, we always tell the one-stop training manuals. We tell them the dates that they're going to be paid, because it's on a 2-week cycle. And they have their blank pay sheets. Typically, just depends on who's doing it. Sometimes the dates will already be put on there, and if they didn't work that day, it'll be blank. That day won't have anything because they took the day off or whatnot. But we keep, we have to keep everything that we turn into finance. And we do have all of those. I just was not able to give them to you in the formula you wanted.
Well, we'll talk about that
Yes,
later
ma'am.
in the agenda.
Okay. Is there any other questions about the 2020 election precinct staff budget?
So the way it stands now, our budget stands the way it is. That's what the county commissioners have approved, and that's the way it stands.
Yes.
Okay.
The budget itself or the extra money?
The budget is
The
what I
budget
was asking.
itself.
Okay.
And if it does go over because of the longer hours and not being able to run shorter remote sites now with the new law, then we would just have, we would have no option but to go back and ask the commissioners for the difference because the election has to be paid for. However, with all budgetary items, always, even before this year when this whole new process began, and having to do things ahead of time and in this manner and do a lot of extra guessing, we'll always keep the county informed as we do, you all, but we'll keep them informed if we know that law changes. And they're not going to require us, say, to do the 7 to 7. It's going to let you all have a little more authority on what hours, you choose to set that time for, as has been done in the past. We'll let them know, right away. There's a potential, that you all can go ahead and vote on a shorter schedule, which obviously wouldn't cost us much money.
So there's a possibility that with the municipal election and the precinct, the primary in March of 2020, that it wouldn't cost us that much money that we have requested. If we have people working less hours, or
True,
maybe
yes, that's true. But back to what Bonnie was saying, because you all voted on the budget back before we presented it to the commissioners, which was not based on 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and remote sites having to be open the whole time that Wentworth was. So there is that difference in the money. So there will be a difference. Now, if we can make up that much by sharing shifts and sending people home, and we could probably make up a good bit of it there. But I can't tell you how much. I can't. I can tell you we'll do everything that we always try to do.
I think we all understand it's a big guessing game for you, and I think the commissioners understood that. I think they were just kind of dumbfounded, like I was sitting there, that it was an increase of $8,500 because I'd seen the letter and I'd figured it up, but I didn't know why it had changed.
I think they have all of that now, and you all have all of that now. Looking at the days, the remote sites on that limited schedule, 5 days obviously is a whole lot fewer days than, say, 13 or 14 or however many are going to be open.
And I think one of the keys that they wanted to impress on you and Royce and even us was that if there's an increase, it has to be voted on by this board. So I think that was one of the points they were trying to get across to all of us.
It was, and as I stated to them, and I just mentioned a few minutes ago, too, this is a new process. And we certainly will begin doing that as part of this process. We've not had to do things in this manner before, so it is new to us. So absolutely, their point's very well taken. It has to be voted on by the board. So that's what we will do in the future.
Well, it's new. I think it's new to all of us also. I don't think last year, I don't think we went through this process, but I can understand some of the thinking behind it. I think they were just wanting to know, okay, where these figures being plucked out of the air or where they're coming from. I think they just wanted more of a breakdown.
I would hope nobody would pluck numbers out of the air.
Exactly, but yet and still, they wanted it to be
we're
accounted
very, very
for.
well documented. So that's why I try to keep you all abreast, the county and whomever, to the best of my knowledge and the best I can with what we have in the best manner that I can, and I'll continue to do so.
Well, I'll just, as a personal note, I wish we did not have to vote 12 hours a day, ever. But, that's the General Assembly question now. I think that one stop ought to be open 8 hours a day, or maybe 9. But anyway, that's my opinion.
Well,
right.
And I do know that at the commissioners' meeting, one of the commissioners even mentioned that we should lobby the General Assembly to not do that. And I've heard that also in comments to our board, and we're not in the business of lobbying, so we can't actually do that. And I hope everyone understands that.
Also, a commissioner made the comment that we should not have early voting. So,
well, I think that was his opinion, and he's
Well,
certainly
true.
entitled to that.
That's true. All right. All right, we'll move on from item number 6.
Do you mind, excuse me, can I ask one question? Just
Yes.
for clarity. So we're going to stay, you all are not going to vote again since it's so up in the air. And when it does come time, are you all ready to set or vote on a one-stop plan for the 2020 primary? depending on what that consideration is, and if you all are able to be unanimous or whatnot, that I'm going to do what we've continued to do and try to cut back that $80-some hundred by sending more people home and continuing to do the things we normally do anyway. Am I correct on that?
Well, I would say that,
You're not gonna vote on a plan
Tony
today,
Like Tony
that's-
said, we'll take a look at the total budget and see where we might cut something.
We've
Later-
cut so much in the last several years, there's not, and then what they cut, this year, there's not, but so much more we can cut. But as we've done voluntarily for many times over the years, we'll do anything we can. We will do anything we can to cut even more.
Would you have the cost of the municipal election by December?
I can't tell you what day in December, but I should be able to have it by then. Provided there's nothing holding the election up, that it's not continued on for any reason. Hopefully it won't. But yeah, I could get the cost of the actual cost of the election, because I have to invoice each municipality individually. So once those invoices are complete and ready to go to the municipalities, we'll know the total cost of the municipal elections.
But there again, that's not the cost of the county, because the county is reimbursed by the municipalities.
Right, but the county, we have to budget for it up front.
Yeah.
We do have to budget for it up front. The county pays for it up front. The municipalities are invoiced, and they pay for their elections.
Well, there's $21,000 in our requested budget that we don't have to spend, that the county don't have to spend. Is that right? I mean, they're going to get it back.
That's correct.
All right. Moving along to unfinished business. Tina, do you have a list of unfinished business?
I do have one thing. Bonnie, you had asked at the last board meeting to let you know how many people voted during Voter Awareness Month and how much it cost. If I can find it, I can tell you. We registered 37 people to vote, and it cost $247 and some change, and I can tell you that in a second. $247.50 is what it cost. Please do keep in mind that there again, when we do public awareness events, it is not just registering people to vote. People take forms with them. People take brochures. We give out schedules. We give out the one-stop plans, the one-stop schedules. People get brochures. We answer questions about elections, questions about voting. So and I don't have statistics on that, but we do know how many people were registered because Susan gets those voter registrations back from each of the events.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For getting that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there any other unfinished business by anybody on the board?
I have a couple of things,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. The buzzer situation, I know in our last meeting, it was said that it would be brought before the county commissioners, the first meeting in October, and I didn't hear anything on the agenda about that.
Oh, they actually took it off.
We'll never put it on.
Yeah, here it is. You're talking about the door security system. Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about? Okay, I'm sorry. So you had the quote. IT came down. Derek came down and brought somebody with him. Derek from IT came down to our office. Actually, I had just finished up a chief judge training class and had someone there that they use in other departments in the county for similar type systems, including the badge system and some other type things. So he had been sent the quote that we received. I'm unsure, who sent that to him, but he was asked to take a look with the company that they're using for similar systems with other buildings. So we're supposed to be getting a quote from that company, from him, for that. Don't have it yet, but as soon as we have it, if I'm not mistaken, Derek did somewhat indicate to me that the system that he believes we can get would be more efficient, would be better, a better system. We wouldn't need as much hardware and should be considerably less. We do not yet have that quote, though. But of course, that will be provided to you immediately, and then once we're good to go ahead with that, then we will ask the county to put that back on the quickest agenda they could.
Okay.
Where do we get the first quote? For 15, somewhere between $15,000 and $16,000?
Around $16,000 and change, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it in front of me.
Where do we get that from?
That came from the company that put in our new security and fire system. We called maintenance to get a quote. That's who they got the quote from, was the company, because they said it would run through that new system that they just had put into our building, which is the new security system and the new fire alarm system. And that's where that quote came from maintenance. Maintenance didn't provide it, but maintenance set up for them to come provide that quote where it would run through, I guess, that system they had just installed.
Okay, would the system that Derek from IT is talking about, would that override or take place of what we have now that was put in by this system?
It would just be the door security system.
Okay,
Our brand new fire system and burglar alarm system that the county put in
So,
would stand as is.
okay.
Does that system have a panic button? Your system have a panic button?
Yes. The old system did too, but that was upgraded as well. There are several. And I
Okay.
can provide the board that information, but not publicly.
The only other item I had on our unfinished business, I was wondering, we had been given information at our last meeting about the Joseph Irvin case. Is that case closed? Is that finished? Or does anybody know?
We haven't heard anything. They haven't requested anything else from us. Amy, have you heard of anything that you haven't made me aware of?
What exactly was that you sent us with those stamps or card
We sent
or
him
whatever?
back months and months ago. I don't know why we just got it the day that, when we sent it to you. It was a piece of mail that was sent to him from our office that we sent return receipt requested because he had a late report. This was before we had to turn that in to the state board because the report was late, and then there's a grace period, and it then became delinquent because we still had not received it. So we sent a letter to him reminding him, as we would any candidate that's late with their reports, that we were not in receipt of that report. And that was the signature card that was on that piece of mail. Why we got it months later, I cannot answer that question.
And how did he get his hands on it if he didn't sign for it?
We don't know that either, as how did he even have it? Because it had to have a signature in order for him to have gotten the piece of mail. So those are questions we cannot answer, the post office cannot answer.
But the signature
They
line
received
had
it
part
back
of
a few weeks ago and returned it to our office, which is what we sent you the copies of the front and the back.
We don't know if he signed it. The signature line had a piece of a Joker playing card on it. Is that right?
Right, but we sent you the other copy after we removed that. We took a picture of the front and the back of the card we received, and you all got that. We also took a letter opener, and there was a playing card, like it had a Joker. It was the back side, not the card side. And it was taped down over where the signature was, so at the time we couldn't tell if that had been signed for or not. But we could tell there were some things under it, and so we took a letter opener and opened and took the playing card off. There wasn't a signature, but we found there was a quarter, and there was a little, it looked like maybe a little game playing piece or something, and we couldn't tell exactly what it was, and that's the copies that you all received.
Is he current in his reporting?
No.
But the
But
state,
again, the state board is handling all of
Right,
this,
I know
not
that.
us. The only reason that I even sent you all the copies was because it does have to do with the state board's open, I guess his appeal to the protest is still pending. But they haven't requested anything else from us, although we did provide them, as we told you, copies of the same things that we gave you for their records.
and you sent us a copy of the summary that Amy did of her meeting in High Point, is it?
I did.
Okay. Is there any other unfinished business? Hearing none, we'll move to item number 8, new business. Tina, do you have new business?
We touched on it just a few minutes ago, and the only thing I wanted to respond to was Tony's request that you all saw and saw my response. I was able to go ahead and get you the one-stop daily totals. That's the report that is sent out during one stop for every election each day. That shows you how many people voted at each site each day. So I just took the last report that was sent and sent that to you. And then how many people voted election day. I was able to
I
get...
did get that.
Yeah, I was able to get you that. But as far as the actual costs in that letter, you said you wanted it in that same format, and that's what we touched on a few minutes ago. I can't get you the actual costs in that same format because that format's for an estimate. Like I said, this many people, this many days, this many hours. And that will never be for one stop because different officials work different days, different hours, different time frames.
But I think now is a good starting point to keep up with the hours and the days that those officials work.
Oh, we have it. We don't have it in the format you want it.
You just can't give it to us, is that right?
I can't give it
know what
to
I'm
you
saying?
in that same
Because I
format.
asked Murray
Uh-huh.
if he could gather that information for me. And he said the only way to do it would be if you looked at every precinct official's
Timesheet.
pay stub.
Oh, we have the timesheets that were signed and approved.
Because I think in the future, that might give us, I know it wouldn't give us an exact figure,
Right.
but it would give us an estimate of what to work with when we're trying to budget for
Sure.
early voting.
We can give you timesheets from,
I'm
In
thinking
any of those
from this point
elections.
forward, that would be.
just let me know how you want them. If you
My
want them every
suggestion.
time we turn one in, if you want them per election, however you want them, we have all of that. I just can't put it in that little formula that was in that letter. It won't work that way. But we do have all the timesheets.
Do you think it's time to do that now or wait until maybe December when we're closer to the primary and may have a better idea about what they're going to require us to do?
Well, it was my intention to go ahead and scan a copy to you all from what Tony requested. Again, I just wanted to discuss it further because I can't put it in that format. This many people work this many days times this much an hour. But I can give you each individual person's pay sheet for one stop, telling you, and it will tell you the date and how many hours they work on each day.
Well,
Now,
what-
election day is slightly different. Election day is not paid hourly, it's paid at a rate, and that is in our pre-election manual that tells you what they get paid for. Our system, with the state system, the SEAM system, will run a report, and it was about $29,000 slightly over at the one we were looking at, the 16 for election day. You have to look at it because, chief judges get paid one amount, judges get paid a different amount, assistants get paid a different amount. If they came to set up on the Monday before the election, they get an additional amount. If they come to pick up, like chief judge pickup, they're paid an additional amount. If
Return?
they return the election results election night, they're paid an additional amount. If they help with the hand-eye count. And all of that is put together and turned into finance, and it's not taxed. So there is a report. For some reason, it will not give you a tally, but it will show you every single official that worked election day and the total amount that were paid.
So let me ask you this, how much is, not the chief judge, not the assistant, but a precinct worker? On election day, they are paid what?
Chief judges are paid $200, judges are paid $155, and assistants are paid $125. And then, of
So-
course, you would add those other things to them as applicable.
So if you had 10 assistants in there and some of them went home early, would they still be paid that flat rate?
Typically, no, because we do have, I can think of 2 offhand that only work half days, and they would only get half days pay. Now, we did have an official one time, one election, that we did not know until way after the election, and this person doesn't even work for us anymore, that they left for lunch and never came back. But it was a busy election, and the chief judge forgot to tell us. We didn't even know it. So in that situation, they probably should have been prorated for that amount, but we didn't know it until after the fact.
So there is a mechanism by which you can prorate that.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Okay.
I think Mr. Richardson had a question about timing, and I don't know that we answered that.
I just wanted to kick around whether or not we should, if an action is needed to be taken on what Tony's talking about, and if now's the time to do that, or wait until after the November election, closer to March, as to what we want Tina to provide.
Well, if I understand correctly, you want to see after each election,
That's correct.
What we
That is
paid
what I
them.
would like.
After each election?
it would have to be after.
Because it's
Because
going
we
to
don't know
apply
what they're
to
going to
all
be paid
elections.
until the election's over. But we can go ahead and give you that information for any elections you want now, and then in the future, if that's what this board so chooses, we can send that to you as our regular procedure, after every election.
I'd just like to start from this point forward. I mean, I don't see any point in going backwards.
No.
But from this point forward, I would like to have those figures. I think they'd be beneficial to us.
And I think it'll be beneficial if we are, called before the county commissioners, that all of us understand, how all of our workers are working.
Absolutely. And that's part of our budget process too, before you all even, will pass, before you all even pass a request that we're going to turn in. Any of those questions or things that you need more information or whatnot, if it hasn't been asked for prior to that, that's a good time to ask it. If you have questions before you pass that budget request.
Well,
We
I don't
can
know
provide you
about
however
Jeff
you want it.
And Leanna, but, this is really mine and Jeff's first really intense budget to go through, and I'm sure Leanna is as lost as we were last year when we saw a budget. So I think we're learning, and the more information that you can give us, I would appreciate. I'm sure Jeff and Leanna would
As long as we
also.
can provide it and we have it, you can have it, anything you request.
Well, so we would get it after the municipal election this year?
Yes.
Does that need to be in the form of a motion? You want to make a motion, or does that, just goes down?
It's understood.
John?
I don't think we
John,
need
I
okay.
to.
don't, yeah.
Okay,
just-
This is
we'll
just
just
something that we'll
ask you to do
just be
that.
more, we'll just be proactive in giving you that information
Okay.
from here forward. And then during budget process or whatnot, if you have other things that you have questions about or would need, then we can look at them as they arise.
All right, any other new business?
I do have something I'd like to say. Simply because, there seems to be so much controversy about this board. If you would look up the definition of democracy, you would see that it is the control of an organization or group by the majority of its members. This board has always strived to operate as a democracy. But after I went to the last commissioners meeting, it was apparent that we seem to be operating under a dictatorship. And I think, and hearing the public speak and their comments, that this is definitely something we need to work forward and make sure that we work as a democracy and that we are all involved in the actions of this board. You know, looking back, I was chairman for a while. I can't remember how long. But I've thought back only twice that I can recall as chairman where there's situations that I did not bring before the board. One was the possible issue with an employee, and that never came into play, so there was no need to address it with the board. Another situation that happened a couple of times, and when I was called by the director because precinct officials were complaining about one of our board members, and she asked me if I would address it with the precinct, which I did. And I did not bring that to the board's attention out of respect for my coworker. So I think it's very important that we as a board work together from this point forward. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other new business or comments? If not, if you'll look at the agenda, we are scheduled to go into executive session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11, parenthesis A, parenthesis 6. The purpose of this executive session is to look at and discuss the vacancies that we have for the municipal election early voting. And I think we have 4 vacancies of the Democrat and or Republican judge. We can't discuss their qualifications in open session, so we will just go into executive session if there's a motion to do so in a second, and step out of here. Then we'll come back and we can discuss with you all, if you're still here, the appointment of these new Democrat and Republican judges. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor say aye.
I believe they need to cite the statute. Did they, John?
Well, I'm sorry, I did, but you can.
It's already been cited, but you can recite it in the form of the motion.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Jeff. The General Statute.
I'll make a motion pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11(6)(a).
And I second the motion.
All right. There's a motion and a second to go into executive session for this purpose. Is all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The motion carries, so we will excuse ourselves for a few minutes. Okay, at this time we will, I'll entertain a motion to come back into open session.
I thought we just did that.
Yeah.
Oh, we did that back there. We don't need to do it here. Okay, we are in open session then. And we will discuss the filling of 4 vacancies for the precinct officials for the municipal elections. We have 1 in Draper, 1 in Eden 1, and 2 in Leaksville 2. So we'll take these one at a time. Is there a motion as to the Democratic judge for Draper?
Mr. Chair, I'd make the motion to appoint Dorothy S. Harris as the Democratic judge for only 1 year to fill in for Democratic Judge Judy Matthews.
Is that 1 year or one election?
One election, sorry.
One election, not counting the primary, right?
Right.
Just the municipal election. Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Pose like sign. Motion carries. Is there a motion to fill the Republican judge position for Eden 1?
I make a motion to appoint Velma Loy as the Republican judge in Eden 1.
I second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to appoint Velma Loy to fill the Republican judge position in Eden 1. Is there a second?
Leanna.
Leanna
Oh, I'm
seconded.
sorry. You made the motion. She seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on to Leaksville 2, we have vacancies in the Democratic judge and the Republican judge. And is there a motion to replace the Democratic judge for Leaksville 2?
The Democratic judge.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we replace the Democratic judge to be Barbara Garland for Leaksville 2.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Is there a motion to appoint the Republican judge in Leaksville 2?
I make a motion to appoint Joyce Vaughn as the Republican judge in Leaksville 2.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to replace the Republican judge. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll adjourn.